What is a carpenter bee?
A carpenter bee in tidewater at this time of year, in the spring of the year, is one of the most feared insects that we have. They are a very large black bee that looks a lot like a bumblebee. There's some entomological differences, so to speak, but they're very subtle. But for the most part, if you want to know what a carpenter bee is versus a bumblebee, and you're not afraid to get too close to it, if you look at the abdomen, the last section of the body, it's shiny. Whereas on a bumblebee, it's hairy and kind of dull. So that's a big difference. But they're actually a wood-destroying insect that does a lot of damage to people's homes. Soffits, railings on decks, stair ledgers, gazebos, sheds, anywhere that there's unprotected wood. And unprotected wood is unfinished wood. So if it's unpainted or unstained or unsealed, that's a perfect invitation to carpenter bees.
Where do they come from?
Carpenter bees are a naturally occurring insect in this area. They're not an import. They are actually one of Mother Nature's mechanisms to take care of dead limbs on trees. That's where they would be found naturally. And one of the things that's really unique about carpenter bees in terms of their biology, from an entomologist standpoint, is really kind of cool, is that they make a perfectly round half-inch hole. So if all of a sudden you start to see, it looks exactly like pencil shavings from the old-fashioned pencil sharpener, that's exactly what their tailings from their digging look like. And they go in, they'll go in an inch or two, and then they always turn to the left. And then as they go down to the left, they'll take and they collect pollen, same as any other bee does, and they feed on the nectar. They'll make a little ball at the end of this tunnel that's usually about 7 inches. If the hole goes in this far, then it's usually about 7 inches this way, and she'll make a little ball about a half an inch in diameter. She'll deposit one single egg on that, and then she'll make a wall, like a paper mache wall between that cell, and then she'll go out and she'll start again. And she'll make each one of those cells about a half an inch apart, and then the larvae, when they hatch out of the egg, they start to feed on that little ball of pollen and nectar that she's created for them. So she's created this perfect little food source for them. And now, if that's not damage enough, that's bad. I mean, that's a bad situation. However, woodpeckers have learned to find these holes through the woodpecker's sense of being able to find insects hidden inside the wood. If a woodpecker figures out that there are carpenter bee larvae in there, the woodpecker goes right through the fascia, and that does a tremendous amount of damage. So I've seen situations before where fascia boards actually had to be replaced because they couldn't be hatched anymore because the damage was so bad.
So how do you get rid of them?
Carpenter bees are not a particularly difficult insect to get rid of, because really all that needs to be done is an insecticide needs to be injected into that hole. It will kill everything that's in there. It kills as the female returns to put those new little balls of pollen there to deposit the egg in for the next generation of carpenter bees to come out of. As she goes in and out, she's going to be exposed to the insecticide and she's going to perish. Once that's done, the hole can be plugged with a cork or a little bit of wood putty, painted over, and then it's over with. That's it. The carpenter bee is gone. And but this may have to happen multiple times on a single piece of fascia board because. And also, I just wanted to make note that just because you had carpenter bees this year doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have them again next year. So that's real important. But treatment is the only way to get rid of them. Otherwise, Mother Nature will run its course. They'll hatch out, and like I said, they may not come back next year. But just a few simple steps of painting and sealing the wood goes a really long way to keeping carpenter ants out, or carpenter bees out, and to keep your house 1, 2, 3 going free.